let's talk about patience, shall we? Let's talk about understanding this whole big world that we live in and this idea of patience. Oh man, all I have to do is say patience. I got a bunch of you already ready to clock out, huh? People shaking their heads already. Okay, so I don't think this is going to take real long because as we talk about patience, I don't want to drag it out. I want to make sure I don't lose you guys in just the next couple of minutes. Now, who has heard, without giving it away, who's heard the story about Chinese bamboo? Has anybody heard the story about Chinese bamboo when it comes to personal growth? Good. So some of you guys have. Awesome. Here's why I want to talk about Chinese bamboo when it comes to patience, because you go, what does that have to do with anything? Right? Is a question we always get. When we talk about patience, a lot of times you will hear the story about, farmers, right? Reaping what you sow. You've got to go out, you've got to prepare the field, you've got to sow the seeds, you have to nurture those seeds. And then within a short amount of time, you start to see the sprouts. As they grow, it grows into whatever it is that you've planted. And then at the end of the season, then you're able to go out and collect that fruit, those vegetables, right? Everybody knows that. Well, we have the same general principle when it comes to bamboo, but there's a few variations here. Now, obviously, there's a number of different variations. We're talking about Chinese bamboo, and we're going to look at optimal growing environments, right? Depending on where you're at in the world, if you were to go out and get some bamboo, you may not have the optimal growth environment. There are some bamboo that only ever get to, a few inches in height, and we're not talking about that. We're looking at more Chinese bamboo in an optimal growth environment. So areas where there's additional warmth, where there's moisture, where the ground is fertile. So I want you to imagine preparing your own ground, and you go out and you plant this Chinese bamboo. Now, there's a couple of different things that happen with bamboo, a couple of different variants. There's a couple of different root systems. So you have one root system that will collect and kind of clump together, and it will stay fairly close. And then you have another root system that is called a runner, right? Deal with contractors, you learn patience. Yep, deal with contractors, deal with kids, deal with people starting businesses, deal with all sorts of things, and you can learn some patience too, right? Look, here's what you have. So you have some root systems that clump, and then you have some root systems that are called runners. So it'll run out 3 to 5, maybe even up to 15 feet during the year. And it goes further out and it'll grow up. And if you don't keep it controlled, crazy stuff can happen. But a farmer plants his bamboo. Now, normally a growth season is a few weeks, maybe a few months. You start to see it sprout, right? Bamboo's not going to sprout. This particular breed of bamboo isn't going to sprout that first year. For the whole first year, it's not sprouting. It's just working down below the ground. And yet you've got to nurture it. You've got to water it. You got to make sure it has the proper environment, everything that it needs for growth. And you're spending time investing in this bamboo and you're not seeing anything. Everything's happening below the surface. Well, some people are going to get tired and frustrated and impatient, and they're going to move and they're going to go and they're going to plant in some other location. And they go through that same process. Some people get a little impatient. They'll start to dig down in there, try to figure out what's going on with the seeds that they've planted, and they interrupt the root growth, and that impedes the process. But all of you are patient. All of you put care into what you're doing. All of you are willing to put in the effort until it gets to the point where you want it. So we go through a year. We go through 2 years. And you're doing the same thing. Well, after 2 years of watering and nurturing this plot of land where you've separated out an area, the bamboo is going to be growing here, but nothing's popping up through the ground yet. I don't see there's no sprouts, there's no seeds popping up through. What's going on here? Well, some of you are going to lose some patience. Some of you are going to go on and try and plant elsewhere. Some of you are going to get tired, and you're going to see neighbors with lemon trees that are now giving them lemons, or orange trees that are giving them orange. Maybe I planted the wrong tree. Maybe I should be planting that, and I should go try that instead. And you uproot and you go and you try something else. And now you have to go through this process again. And some of you are going to keep checking those roots, and that's going to take a little bit longer. And then a lot of you will be patient and you'll keep doing that work. And year 3 runs around. And guess what? Still nothing. And year 4 comes around. And guess what? Still nothing. Towards the end of year 4 and into year 5, you start to see something. Because what the bamboo does is it spends this entire time building this structure below ground and soaking up nutrients and becoming power packed. And it's time for growth season. And once that bamboo hits through, now here's the crazy thing about bamboo. You know how trees a lot of times will come up with a single sprout and it'll be, you know, nice and thin and small and they grow and grow and they become wider as they grow. Bamboo typically will stay really close to however big it comes up out of the ground is about how big it's going to be around in diameter for the whole height that it's going to grow. So if it comes up an inch, inch and a half wide, that's about what it's going to be however high it grows. If it comes up 6, 7, 8 inches around, that's what it's going to be all the way up. The crazy thing about bamboo, though, is it spent 4 or 5 years developing out the root system, soaking up the nutrients, pulling everything into it to hit this growth season. Bamboo can grow as much as 3 to 4 feet in a day. Once it hits its growth season, 3 to 4 feet in a day. And up to that, may not always be that, but consistently it can grow. I mean, I was looking at some reports because I kept going, no, that can't be right. And I kept going back and forth, up to 80 to 90 feet in a 6 to 7 week period. How many of you guys have a garden and you've planted something and it takes forever for the basil to come up, or you got potatoes and you're wondering when the heck they're going to be ready, or you got papaya and you're wondering what's happening there? Whatever it is, wherever you guys are in the world, a lot of you guys have an opportunity to plant something. Imagine something popping up out of the earth and a week goes by and it's 20 foot tall. And then a month goes by and you're at 50 feet. And you're going, what the heck is going on? This is now, it's double the size of my house. 2 months go by and you're 80 feet in the air. And you're going, man, I'm so glad I waited all of that time to see this finally happen. Too often you guys are we go through life and we're impatient. We're those people that we want to change what we're planting because the bamboo's just not growing fast enough, right? I want to plant this tree. I want to plant that tree. I want to try something else. And you go through 5 years and you've planted 5, 10 different kinds of things, and none of them are really grown or matured the way that you want them to because you just don't give them the time. Or you play around with the roots too much. You overwater it, or you don't water it at all. Your life, very often, when it's something important, it's going to require the same amount of patience as allowing that bamboo to grow. Now, I'm not saying 5 years. I'm not saying 3 years, right? But some of you have some significant dreams and goals and passion projects that aren't going to happen overnight. And I'm not simply talking about the money that you're going to earn online with this business or any others. You can earn money to pay bills, to go on a trip, to take care of debt, to do whatever. That can happen in a shorter period of time. But this overall goal that you have, this higher life's purpose, this impact over income, is going to take more work, more effort, more nourishment for what you're trying to do. And some of you are looking and saying, look, I don't care about that. And that's totally cool. But maybe this applies to something else. Maybe this applies to a relationship that you have. Maybe it applies to your health. You keep going down this pathway of diet and exercise, but you give up after a little bit because what's happening on that microscopic level, you don't get to see as much. And so it's frustrating you. And what you need to do is be patient enough to see it through so that you can break through down the road. You've got to be patient, ladies and gentlemen. Be willing to allow nature and the universe and the divine and yourself to grow through the process. And if you're willing to do that, then amazing things will happen. And I can give you story after story of people that I know that within a very short amount of time, year one hit crazy numbers with whatever business. We've all seen them. And I can give you more stories of people that were patient through the process that after a couple of years, they developed a business or the skill or whatever that got them to finally some serious freedom. And then they built out things that were stupendous. There's that quote that I've talked about from Tony Robbins that he borrowed from Peter Drucker. But one reason that so many people don't succeed is because they overestimate the short term and they grossly underestimate what can happen in the long term. Look at your life, look at your business, look at your relationships, look at all of it like that bamboo. Put in the time and effort to allow it to grow. Wait till it hits there, because at that point, you'll experience that crazy growth. So that's what I got for you. Everybody willing to be a little more patient what they're doing, what they're thinking? Hopefully. Some of you are shaking your head saying no. I don't care. Talk about bamboo all you want. Doesn't matter to me. I want it now, damn it. Look, go out and do what you need to do. Understand that those trials, tribulations, everything else is going to keep coming. You've got to learn how to strengthen yourself through it all. So make that happen.